Hey everyone, and this is the most uncomfortable position I've ever filmed from, so let's try and make this one short. Happy New Year! I don't know whether this is going to be the first video that is like out on my channel in the new year, but in any case it's the first one that I'm filming, and since I cannot for the life of me schedule my videos in ahead of time, I have no idea when this one will come out, but this typically is the last video that I film every year, and so normally this is my 31st of December video, but this year, or like last year, definitely didn't go according to plan, so I'm hoping to get back into BookTube throughout 2024. At this point in time, it is still quite a struggle for me to film and edit and to like make time for that, prioritize that. This is the second week that I'm off from work and I haven't been doing anything for the channel this week, so I'm still definitely mindset wise not back to BookTube, but I'm going to try to do better in 2024. But so, without further ado, let's dive into the video, because today I'm going to talk about the books that I have left on my TBR. So I started 2023 with 23 books on my TBR, and I entered 2024 with 23 books on my TBR. They have been on my TBR for an average of 147 days, I believe. I will have the screenshot here to back that up, which I'm very happy with that. You know, if you've been following me, you might know that I have this rule that my books need to be read within a year of having purchased them, and I'm happy to see that my average is very much below the 365 cutoff time, meaning that I'm definitely getting to my books well ahead of time. It isn't the case that the majority of these books are just like lingering until that deadline, and that, you know, I'm always constantly battling that deadline. It kind of feels that way to me personally still, but the statistics show that on average I'm definitely doing a good job when it comes to my TBR. But so, currently on my TBR, the majority of the books that are on there are going to be fantasy, because in the months of November, December, I feel like I got rid of quite a lot of the translated fiction that was still on this shelves, which was the biggest category aside from fantasy that is on there. So at this point in time, I feel like the majority on here will be fantasy. Now, before we dive into the actual physical books, I'm going to talk about the 4 ebooks that count for this TBR. In 2023, I started counting ebooks to my TBR, but I'm only counting the ones that I bought from 2023 onwards, just to keep it easy for myself. I definitely do have more. I think my Kindle at this point in time has 39 unread books on it, so I definitely have more than the ones that I am mentioning on here. The ebooks that I have on my TBR going into 2024 are The Seeds of War by João F. Silva, I believe his name is. This is a fantasy series, first in a series. I don't actually know anything about it anymore. This was actually a mispurchase because I was interested in another book that had a very similar cover, and when this one came for like €1 on Amazon, then I was like, ooh, yeah, let me buy it, and then afterwards I realized it wasn't actually the book that I thought it was. So we'll get to it somewhere this year, and then I'll figure out whether this was a happy coincidence or whether it's an unfortunate mistake. Then I have One for My Enemies by Olivia Blake. So I have not read an Olivia Blake yet. I do want to give her a go. This and Masters of Death are kind of the ones that I'm interested in trying out. I'm not that interested in her much more popular Atlas 6 series, unless I have a good time with these 2 books, and then I might change my mind on that. And then the 2 others that are on my ebook TBR are Brandon Sanderson, so they are the third and the 4th book in the Secret Project series that was going on last year, which I definitely didn't stay up to date with. And now my cats are of course having a fight. I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but regardless, let's go into this TBR, and I'm actually set in a very unfortunate way for filming this. But so, let's start off with the non-fantasy that is still on my shelf. First up, we have a non-fiction, which is The Earth Transformed, An Untold History by Peter Frankopan, with these gorgeous sprayed edges, which are definitely my downfall in 2024. Let's not be, you know, like tempted by special editions as much as we were in 2023. This book I am actually currently reading. I am about that far into it, and I gotta say this is super dry, so I'm not actually enjoying myself all that much, so maybe I should just give it up, because you know, this is a huge book, so it's not like I'm just pushing through like a few pages in it. So is this my sign to reduce this TBR to 22 from the get-go? Potentially, but I won't make that decision yet. But so this is a non-fiction that is all about the history of the world seen through the lens of climate change. How did changes in climate have an impact on the way that our history unfurled? What I do like about this one is that it has a quite global outlook on the world history, so it definitely doesn't just focus on you know, Western Europe or anything like that. That being said, I'm also so far into the past that we haven't gotten to like the periods of time that we are more used to learning about. This is definitely still sort of like pre-Rome, pre-Greek society and stuff like that. I might have gotten to the point where we're actually seeing, yeah, I am gotten to the Middle Ages. So, but the majority of this was actually taking place much like before Christ. I am finally in the beyond Christ points, but yeah, as I said, this is told in a very dry manner, and this is actually the second Peter Frankopan book that I've read, and I should have learned my lesson from the first one, but because of this gorgeous edition, I changed my mind, and so now I'm like, nah, this actually isn't the author for me, so I should just get rid of it. Next up we have a horror, and that is Las Indignas by Agostina Bastarrica. This is the next book by Agostina Bastarrica after her global success with Tender is the Flesh. This is not yet translated into English. I very much hope to be able to read this one in Spanish soon, because this is a 5-star prediction, and so I will be reading it for my 5-star prediction vlog that I started in November, I think, and still need to finish. Don't know anything about this one. I knew Agostina Bastarrica was there, so I wanted it regardless. Then the first of my gifts that I got on a Secret Santa from Diana over on the Discord of Jolien Reads is Magma by Tora Horsleifsdottir. This is a book translated from Icelandic. This is about a toxic home situation, basically about domestic violence. That is all I really remember about the premise of this, but this one was very much hot a few years ago. I saw it so many times on Instagram. At that point in time I was really eager to get to it, and it's just never been prioritized, so I'm happy that it's now on this TBR so that I can definitely get around to it in 2024. Next up we have, I believe, the only book remaining off of my London purchase TBR, and that is The Girl from the Sea by Molly Knox Oftertak. This is a graphic novel, and this is all about two girls who fall in love. One of them comes out of the ocean. All I know about it, and yeah, I am very much looking forward to getting to that one. I'm very happy that off of that quite heavy haul, I only have one left. Next we have another gift. This is a gift from Charlotte from the channel Clumsy Charlotte, and this is Unwell Women, A Journey Through Medicine and Myth in a Man-Made World by Eleanor Cleghorn. So this is a non-fiction all about the treatment of women in medicine and the way that women, for example, are misbelieved, or that certain, you know, certain treatments aren't really catered to women, how in research not a lot of attention is placed on the difference between women and men, for example. So very much looking forward to this book. As of course is the case for all of these, because I've been repeating it so many times, but it is the case. Then we have the oldest book on my TBR at this point in time, which will be read before the 1st of April. This is The Family Chow by Lan Samantha Chang. This is a book about a Chinese family within the US. I think we're following multiple generations. All I really remember about the sort of like premise is that they own a business somewhere, I think in Minnesota or something like that, no, Wisconsin apparently, and that there's a body in their freezer. Moving into the speculative area, so first up we have Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. This is a book about a black woman who time travels to the past and ends up in a time period that is not all that favorable to black people, where she ends up saving the life of a white man, and that's all I really know about it. I have read one, Octavia E. Butler, in the meantime. I really enjoyed that one, which is part of a series, and I definitely think I will be rereading it and then continuing the entire series. But I do still have this one on my shelves now, so that one will be the next Octavia E. Butler that I try. Then we have two books that are part of a series. So first up I'll talk about the second book. This is The Liar's Knot by M.E. Carrick, second book in the Rook and Rose series, which I will be reading across the months of May, June and July. In the Rook and Rose series we are following a girl called Wren who grew up in the city that we're in, which is basically a fictionalized version of Venice, and she was basically taken in by this criminal madame, basically, who runs this group of children to basically do jobs for her. However, they ended up killing this woman and escaping this town. However, so many years later, she now returns to the scene of the crime in order to try and swindle her way into an aristocratic family and get their money. However, what she doesn't realize is that this family basically is in financial difficulties. Aside from this character, we also have a character which is the Rook, which is a sort of like Robin Hood-esque character, and the unveiling of his identity is very much in the background of this first book in the series. So I have The Liar's Knot, second book in the series, and then I also have the third book in the series, The Labyrinth's Heart, and I'm very looking forward to finishing out this series in 2024. Next up we have another gift, which is To Shape a Dragon's Breath by Molecule Blackgoose. This is a book by an indigenous author, and this is the first in a series, but this is the only one out in the series so far. All I really know about this is that it's a fantasy book with dragons, and that people on the Discord of Sada from A Voyage Through Words were really positive about this one, and so I definitely wanted to give this one a go as well. I am going to be hosting a read-along for Dragon Books in 2024, starting in February, leading into January 2025. I don't know whether this one will be chosen yet, but even if it isn't chosen, I will definitely be hosting a sort of like buddy read for it, for people who are interested in reading this book in 2024. Next up we have a book that is on my January TBR, which is Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wong. This is a standalone, I believe, and I have quite forgotten what this is about. It's definitely M.L. Wong is the author of The Sword of Kaigen, which is one of my favorite books of the year that I read it. And I absolutely love The Sword of Kaigen, love that writing style, that way of telling stories, the way of building characters. So I'm hoping to find that in this second book, The Blood Over Bright Haven. It is definitely not linked to The Sword of Kaigen in any way, shape or form. I do believe we're following a woman who is sort of like, it has a more academic setting, I think, and there's intrigue and stuff like that going around with it. That's sort of like the vibe of the plot that I kind of remember, but I don't really remember the specifics, and since I'm going to be reading it this month, I'm not actually going to be looking into the premise again. I've seen good stuff from at least Emily Fox over on Books with Emily, and she really loves Sword of Kaigen as well, so I'm hoping that I will have that same sort of success with the second book that I'm reading by Emma Wong. Then we have a gift that I was gifted over for Christmas by my family, which is The Will of the Many by James Islington. New series by James Islington. I do have plans for rereading and continuing Lycanus, which I will talk about later in this video, but I am also starting his new series, and I am hoping to still fit this into January, though I guess it has the lower priority of some of my higher priority January reads. This is a new series. All I really know is that it's Roman inspired, basically. I think that this is a sort of like magic school sort of setting with a very strict hierarchy, because the series is called The Hierarchy, and that our protagonist who we're following is entering in there to kind of figure out what happened to his brother who went missing from the academy years ago. Could be wrong about that. That is kind of what is in my mind in terms of the plot of this one. Another continuation is The Oleander Sword by Tasha Suri, second book in the Burning Kingdom. The third book is going to come out in 2024, so I definitely want to make sure that I'm getting to the Burning Sword, the Oleander Sword, in order to be able to finish out the series with the Lotus Empire later this year. Last one from the second shelf is Lycanius, so The Light of All That Falls, third book in the Lycanius series by James Islington. This is a series in which we're starting off by following three friends who are at this sort of magic school, and they basically have to take a test the next day or so in order to see whether they can continue their education or whether they will become shadows and will be stripped of their magic. This is a world that has seen quite a big conflict between people with magical abilities and people without, and so magic is really bound by these very strict rules. And our protagonist, or like one of the people that we're following, definitely has had some difficulties with controlling his magical power, and so is kind of afraid for his possibility of potentially failing this test. Really enjoyed this one a whole ton, but these are books that you need to read close together, and I definitely felt that when I was reading the second book that it had been too long since reading the first one, and so before diving into book 3 I'm going to be rereading book 1 and 2 in order to make sure that when I get to Lycanius in March, when I get to this one in March, I will be able to go into it with all of the background that is needed. The top shelf is the most difficult one for me to reach. So, on the top shelf, almost all of these are Illumicrate books. So first up we have The Sun and the Void by Gabriela Romero Lacruz. Don't know anything about this one, and I've heard bad things only actually about it so far, so I'm hoping that I will have a better experience with this one. I am kind of hoping to do a sort of vlog of my remaining Illumicrate books at some point in time, but it is also not really my highest priority, so who knows. The oldest one of my Illumicrate books is Some Desperate Glory by Emily Tesh, which is a sci-fi book. Once again, don't know anything about it. The Just Add Air by Sarah L. No, not Sarah L. Where is it? Sarah Hashem. This is Egyptian inspired, and I believe it features enemies to lovers. The Principle of Moments by Esme Jikimi Pearson. This is another sci-fi from Illumicrate. And then the final book on my physical TBR, which is a non-Illumicrate book, is Inkblood Sister Scribe by Emma Torst. This is another one that I got sucked into because Waterstone had the special edition, otherwise I probably wouldn't have prioritized purchasing it. But this is a book about two sisters who are part of a family that guards magical books, and then it turns out that a sort of like shady organization is on the hunt for this library or for these books, and so yeah, they have to go out and protect these books. That's all I know. Magical books, libraries, sounds like the perfect vibes. So these are the 23 books that I am going into 2024 with. As indicated, the oldest one on here is from the 1st of April, so I do have a buffer of like 3 months to get to that one, so I'm definitely in a good place at this point in time, though I do have quite a few for like April and May that I need to get to, so it's not like I can be like sitting on my laurels, you know. It is best for me to kind of keep chipping away at these books throughout the months of January, February and March, so that, you know, my April and May aren't going to be just me like racing against the clock to get to these. But so yeah, that is it for my TBR at this point in time. Hoping that you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know if you've read any of these books or if you feel like I need to prioritize any of these books. And yeah, with that, I'm gonna leave you. See you guys for the next video. Bye!